It's a beautiful day because I have a wonderful show for you today. I have, first, I have State Senator Burt Johnson, and then I have some flowers. Claudette Wellings is going to come on and have some ideas for you for Valentine's Day. And I'd like to first introduce my guest, State Senator Burt Johnson.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. It's another day in paradise.
In paradise, and we have on red.
We have on red.
Celebrating women and heart disease. We're
That's
not
right.
celebrating heart disease. We want to eradicate it.
And we want to bring awareness to it. You know, it's one of those things where we talk about cancer and cancer awareness, and the entire world has come accustomed to wearing pink. Well, it's time now to put on red so that we understand that women's issues are just as important as the rest of
Just
the
as
issues
important.
advocated around the world. That's right.
Just as important. I don't know. There hasn't been a lot of justice there, but we're trying, and we have to not only take care of ourselves, we have to call for more research, and we have to eat healthier.
That's right. That's
and
right.
exercise.
Got to eat to live.
Instead of living to eat. Wait,
Absolutely.
I think I eat to live. I'd love to live to eat.
Oh, yeah. We've all at one point lived to eat. But
You
now
know.
we get to a place where we're more sober in our understanding, and we do have to eat to live.
Right, and thank you for wearing your red.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's
Absolutely.
a brownie point, man. That's a brownie point. But I'm so happy to hear you, have you here today. And would you first tell us where you cover?
Well, I'm Burt Johnson. I'm a senator from the 2nd District. There are 38 senators. I represent just about all of East Side, Northeast Side Detroit, Highland Park, Hamtramck, Harper Woods, and the 5 Grosse Points.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a big swath of land. If you can imagine, almost Woodward 6 to 8 mile over to Lake St. Clair. And all points in between. I've probably got one of the more challenging districts, certainly the most diverse. We've got very affluent people, some folks who are not so well-to-do. We've got highly educated people with a number of letters behind their name, and we have a struggling illiteracy rate as well in
Yes.
this district. This is a very important district for all the collective issues that Michigan needs to be addressing.
Yes, it is. The demographic is amazing.
It is.
It's amazing. And do you get a chance to cover a lot of this district? I mean, do you go visit homes or community meetings all across Grosse Point?
Yeah, well, yeah, we really do. And number one, this community is really a world community. So outside of New York, outside of Miami, you have Hamtramck, Michigan, where
Yes.
people descend on the United States of America to come make a better life. Then you've got old establishment money to some degree over in the points, and we see them all the time. And Detroit is always in the mix. I've got the 48205 area code, zip code, which is one of the prominent zip codes with respect to high crime and that kind of thing. And so
Is that the east side of Detroit?
it is the east side Detroit, more specifically the 9th precinct. Over off Gratiot and Gunston. And so there's a lot going on in this district. And we get around, we do coffee hours, we do community meetings, we do home visits, we do anything that's necessary. We hardly have ever told anybody we cannot come their way on an issue.
Okay, now what's going on? Well, there's so many things that people talk about and want me to ask about.
Right.
But I'll start with you. What are some of the things that my viewers need to know about that are going on in Michigan and that impact them?
Oh, how much time do you have?
Well,
It's there's a myriad of things going on. We understand since January 1st of 2011 that we have had Republicans in complete control of Michigan's government. And what that has meant for us from a policy perspective is that they have gotten their way.
yes, even with the pensioners.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to mention that because was there any debate there? It seemed like all of a sudden they said, well, we're going to start taxing
Sure.
your pensions.
That was one of the first things that they did, and so there was a natural ramp up. They didn't just go at it very quickly, but they did it quicker than most things come to pass.
Was there discussion?
Hardly. And
How
you
does
got to
that
give
happen, though, Bert?
Well, when you are the governor and you're Republican, when you are the state legislature and you're entirely Republican in the House and the Senate, they stage debate, and so they'll put a bill in committee, they'll have a hearing, people will come and they will put in testimony cards to say I'm for it or I'm against it. Now, our beloved senior showed up and got what was really going to be a $900 million pension tax on them. down to about 300 million. So there's a lesson in there as we approach this November election where we have a chance to move a governor out and move another governor in. There's a lesson that what the pensioners taught us across this state is that your advocacy counts, because they got rid of 2/3 of what was going to be put on them in a pension tax. So advocacy still counts. Showing up at the Capitol, writing letters, emailing, calling,
Well, I
hounding.
remember people showed up for right to work.
Yes, they did.
And I tell people all the time that this governor doesn't care if you march against him.
That's right.
He
That's
has
right.
no conscience base
That's right.
at all
That's
as
right.
far as that is concerned.
That's right.
Don't you agree?
Absolutely. He's probably the most political governor we've ever had because he's so corporate driven. And his mantra is to make money. And after all, we live in a capital economy, and they have figured out how to descend out of the private sector into the public sector, mismanage it for the purpose of giving money to their corporate benefactors. And they've turned public service into, they've almost commoditized it to make it a money-making venture all the way around, to connect it to the corporate cycle in this country. And, it's not just Michigan. It's not just Detroit. It's happening all across the country. And the eyes of the world are on Michigan, and especially Detroit with her bankruptcy issue that we were forced into because of this same governor, his emergency management style. And now what people are going to do is follow what has happened in Detroit.
Yeah, because some precedents have been set.
Sure, that's right. That's right.
And I heard they're even looking at him for the national level.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I said that some years ago when he first got the job, that if he did certain things and people accepted his definitions, he's going to say he's tried to fix education in urban areas. He's going to say he's tried to usher Detroit through the largest bankruptcy in American history and has done so in 18 months. And with what's probably going to be the absence of Christie out in New Jersey on the national front, you're probably going to see Rick Snyder be appreciated, at least from a moderate standpoint, by the Republican Party and embraced. They're already talking about it. We firmly believe that it's a plan in place.
I believe it too. And you think about the fact that the EAA schools, I'm not going to harp on this, but I know people who teach in those schools, and I'm a former teacher myself, and they are doing an injustice
every day
to our
Every
children.
day.
And I don't know why more parents are out there protesting the fact that teachers are only allowed to lecture a certain amount of time.
Right.
Kids can't ask questions like that. They have to follow a little man on a computer.
Right. This chronic teaching to the test.
Oh, it's terrible.
It
is terrible.
It
Plus, there's some other things that we're not going to get into right now as far as those EAA schools are concerned. And they had to borrow money, borrow money from
Absolutely.
Detroit Public
Absolutely,
Schools.
and they did.
That's
And there's a very simple answer here as it relates to the EAA. I mean, we have the fight we're waging in Lansing to keep it from becoming a state law and getting mandated into place. We're trying to separate Eastern Michigan from its contract with the EAA. But here's the bigger thing. From a consumer standpoint, parents have the right to subtract your child from the school.
Yes, take your child.
Take your child out the school. We understand Pershing has a long and beautiful and reputable history in the city of Detroit. Pershing has been made an EAA school. The only reason Pershing operates today with about 400 kids in a 2,700 kid school environment is for the sports. Pershing has such a heritage in basketball and other sports that they're keeping it alive. So it's almost like a school on life support for the purpose of pleasing the parents who are watching this child of a school die. And it's really a distasteful, ugly way to end the history of one of the better schools in the city of Detroit. But that's become the EAA. And all we have to do to really put it out of business, subtract your child. There are plenty of other good Detroit public schools to put your child into.
And guess what? I heard, this is from a teacher in an EAA school, that there's so many seniors with a 6th grade reading level.
Oh, yeah. I believe that. I
So
believe
many.
that. I believe
And
that.
how are they addressing that?
Well, they're not. I had occasion to be in a number of these schools, and I happened to ask a couple of the students, and they're very open. That's the one thing about our children. They're learned, they're responsive, and they are looking for someone who actually wants to see something good for them happen. They're looking for that person. I asked some of these students, tell me what the homework load is like. And they said, well, we don't get homework. And I said, right, but the stuff that you take home that you bring back every day, we don't get homework. I said, well, what I'm saying is, the paperwork that they give you to go home and work on, and you bring it back and you get graded on it. You get a mark for bringing it back. They said, we don't get homework. We don't have books that we're allowed to take home. Well, each of us knows that the only way we get great at something is to practice.
Right.
You get a lesson in class, you go over it, you exercise on it. Then you're given extra exercises for your home time. And then you come back, you're tested on your proficiency of how well you studied and you practice. No homework means no practice. No practice means you don't get great. That's just the life we've all lived. And so that's what's happening in our schools. Some of our schools, anyway.
And I heard that at one point they wanted to add more schools.
Sure.
But people are protesting that. Now, I graduated from Eastern Michigan. I have a bachelor's and a master's from there. And I know people up there, and I know the staff does not want to be associated with those schools.
And they've been extremely vocal about that.
Right.
We sat on a panel the other evening, and I've got to really give it to folks. There are now people who are in the line of fire when they advocate right and wrong on certain things. And these folks who are teachers, the faculty, the staff, they have come forward and put themselves on the front line. And they're saying, not only do we want to separate from this ugly contract, but we want to be a part of a good answer if we're going to be a part of any answer about public schooling across the state of Michigan.
Well, one thing, I always taught, like, this child I'm teaching may end up being my next door neighbor.
Sure, that's right.
May end up being my doctor. May end up being someone integral in my life. We have Tony on the phone. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Just fine, thanks.
Yeah, my question was, when the EA schools were advertising and promoting their schools with the commercials, why didn't DPS do the same thing to promote DPS schools, to give an incentive to go to DPS?
Well, I don't know, but I have some thoughts. Number one, every year we see the doors open with Detroit Public Schools and so forth and so on. I never saw them touting the EAA schools as being a better school. So I never saw that. Also, a lot of people were in their home schools and did not want to move from those home schools, don't you think?
Right. Well, and there are a couple things here. It is counterintuitive that the reason you have, and he's asking a great question,
yes,
because what he is seeing is the EAA recruit students in. Now, by definition, by state definition, that's yet to be codified into law, the EAA is comprised of schools that are underperforming at a particular level.
Right.
And if that class of young people is underperforming at that level, why then would you be recruiting anybody into a system that you're trying to remediate? And so what he's seeing, what he's witnessing, like a number of us are, is the absolute decimation of public schooling in the city of Detroit that will then follow across the state, of course, in Ecorse and Inkster, Romulus, here in Highland Park, and other urban areas where we are predominantly the customers of those school systems. But also he's seeing the raising of they're trying to make awareness about EAA and the inclusion of kids in the EAA a premier issue so that they can promote a system that is continuously needy in the state size and then requires that oversight. And so it's a disgusting display of the state's intrusion into the rights of families to see their children educated in the public system.
Right. It's disgraceful.
It is.
It's really, really disgraceful. And a lot of people all the parents have to do is go in there.
That's right.
All they have to do, it is their right.
That's right.
And I hope we answered some of your question because I didn't know the answer. I just speculated. And
to his credit, why didn't DPS do what he saw EAA do? It's because they would rather, under emergency management, raise a larger pool of charter schools that are for profit, that give people an opportunity to come in and take money off the backs of our children while not giving them anything called a good education, and at the same time completely commoditize the education environment. So, this has not been a plan that just started in a year, last couple of years. This has been a 10, 15, 20-year plan going back to taking DPS when DPS was a healthy, upper middle of the road school system in comparison to the others across the state.
Well, and I believe there's some people who have been advocates for Detroit public school children who people celebrate, who I've been watching for the past 35, 40 years. And really, when they started advocating, I saw the schools go down because their methods
That's right.
of advocating were wild.
That's right.
And a lot of times they really didn't know. It's nothing like having people who don't really know what a school needs
Right.
to
Right.
be yelling
That's
at
right.
school board members
Right.
and so forth. And we want to be in the schools and we want to do that. Well, look what happened. I mean, I'm into parents coming into school, but to a certain point. Everybody has their territory.
That's right.
Or their lane.
That's
and
right.
together
You gotta stay
we
in it.
can make it happen.
Right.
But when you try to run over something, but that's a whole nother deal.
No,
All
but you're
I
right.
know is this. All I know is this. I cry for the students who are in these schools right now. I do, because I remember when Detroit Public Schools were the greatest.
Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't beat them.
Yeah.
And now it's just ridiculous what's happening. But I didn't want to, all this goes to the state.
That's right. That's right, because across the country, states' rights are really what are on the line here. And they're under attack. Citizens' ability to live a good life, a particular quality of life in this country is guaranteed by the United States Constitution and those of the states that they live in. States' rights are on the line. So when we say that women in this state now, under health insurance mandates, have to carry a rider that just in case a woman would need to use her insurance for an abortion. And there are a number of different reasons why a woman would require that type of surgical procedure.
Right.
It's not just that a woman has made a choice that she doesn't want and wants to terminate a
It
pregnancy.
could be the health of that child.
It could be the health of the child. It could be the health of the woman. Many women who are anticipating, and their husbands and their families who are anticipating a new birth that's going to just like really turn the house into something beautiful. Many women get faced with healthcare choices where a doctor comes in and says, I've got to give you the options for where we are because your child, if brought to term, may have these different conditions. And women should be allowed to make the kind of decisions necessary to have a good life. As a man, I can't on one day imagine what it must be like for a woman to go through those kinds of challenges. But for this legislature to say you got to carry a rider on your insurance in case you need the service.
Was there debate?
Hardly. And when there was debate on the floor, I've been in the legislature now 13 years as a staffer and as an elected official. I've seen a lot of impassioned debate on both sides of issues. Some that I could appreciate, others I could have done not with. But I've also seen on this particular debate some of the most touching, impactful testimony of all time. Our Democratic leader, Gretchen Whitmer, testified and let out to the world that she had been raped 20 years ago. Right. And I'm telling you, it caught all of us off guard. We were stunned, and you could have heard a pin drop. And her testimony was so real. And right on the other side of that, 2 of the 4 women who are Republicans in the Senate and 1 black guy out of the city of Detroit who's a Democrat, they voted to do this thing. Now, in the fraternity that is to be a man, we sort of try to stick together on issues that are germane to our health and our wellness and our well-being. But I know that's supposed to happen.
How dare somebody try to intrude like that? What has happened to the legislature, especially the Republican Party, where they are so conservative? How dare they?
It's a little bit like a gang. They follow a mantra, whether everybody agrees with it or not. And one thing I will say about Republicans, they don't fall in love. They fall in line. They stand behind whatever it is they've come up with and march out of that caucus room with orders to fulfill.
So can't this be something that the Democrats highlight in this year's election?
Sure.
Highlight this fact? I mean, I haven't heard a lot about it. I haven't heard a lot about much that's going to be happening. And I try to listen or keep my ear to the ground about it. But, Burt, I think that this year you got to be louder.
Absolutely louder. One of the things that I'm particularly disgusted at, my staff believes that I'm a little too cynical sometimes, but I'm also a realist. And I think there's not enough awareness about issues that are really affecting people's lives. People sort of think that as they float through the community, and particularly if you're poor, you're just trying to survive. But they don't really understand that there's a whole group of people that are making that survival harder. on an everyday basis. So this is not rocket science as to how we should be clarifying these issues in front of people and giving ourselves a chance to win and put a better government in place. This is real simple. Women, seniors, children, all under attack. If you're a person of color, under attack. If you live in a community where your predominant population is a population of color, you're under attack. If the poverty level in your community is at a particular level, your community's under attack. If you're looking to get educated on the public dime and you're in one of these urban settings, you're under attack. If you are a pensioner who worked dutifully, raised a family, paid taxes, set a good family and people out in the community to work as your children, you're under attack. If you are a worker and your rights and your pension and your health care are ever the subject of debate, you're under attack. If you are an educator, if you went to school to get an education, to go on and educate others, to follow behind you, you're under attack. This is not rocket science. And that what I just described is the majority of not just the Democratic Party, but the majority of the population in the state of Michigan, almost 10 million people.
Yes.
It should be very easy then for us to get up and take it back.
People have to know. People have to know, not just in Detroit, but on the outskirts, how this is hitting them at home.
Right.
The people in Grosse Pointe, the women who may be out there for women's rights, they need to know how their rights have been infringed upon.
Right. And there are proposals today that would, sometimes these laws pass and they're single laws that do certain things. But then every blue moon comes along a process that would completely push into perpetuity the policies they put in place. There's an article in the paper today. There's a group that's going to be out gathering petition signatures for a part-time legislature.
Right.
Now, the moment I talk about that, people are going to say, oh, well, Burt, it's just because you want your job. Let me be clear. There are many other jobs that Burt could have.
But couldn't the governor override so many things because
not just override, he would have the ultimate juice.
Right.
Because there are no limits with his authority.
And they have to get 300 and something
signatures. 1,000 signatures by July to get it on a November ballot, which is a scary proposition.
I've seen an interview with this man, and he's begging for money. He might just get it.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, people have to know not to sign that.
That's right.
Because I thought about it. I said, well, it'll bring their salaries down to $35,000, this and that. But a part-time person fighting for me?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't on one day understand why someone in a challenged environment decide that would be a good thing for them. And the one thing I figured out about this country, because there's a ton of money floating in and out of this country, is that there's money enough for everybody. So why in the world would I be concerned with what the gentleman behind the glass over here producing the show, why would I be concerned about what he makes? Why would I be concerned about limiting your ability as an educator or whatever else it is you've done in your profession? Why would I be concerned about limiting your professional relationship with the community?
That's what I fail to understand, and that's something that the Democratic Party needs to let people know. They need to break it down like people are in the fifth grade.
That's right.
Break it down, and talk and talk and talk, and you get your constituencies to talk to other people and so forth and so on. And I'm telling you this because, well, you're in this office right now, and the people that you do impact, and some other things are going on statewide too, aren't there? A
lot of things. We, from healthcare to education to women's issues, the women's issue has taken sort of a front burner position because they're varied now. Like I said, there's only 4 women in the Michigan Senate. There are 38 senators. So ask yourself, I'm someone that you could probably trust to talk about women's issues, but I can't bring women's issues to the floor the way a woman can. And when you don't have women, you don't have balance. I mean, that's just life. Any of us who grew up, particularly those of us in the black community, we all grew up under Big Ma. Big Ma set the tone, and her tone was a steady tone. The men sort of come and go. They're allowed to float in and float out, and most of them we hope do right. But Big Ma, she prepares those meals. She's going to teach you how to pray. She's going to see to it you sit down for your lessons to do your homework. She's going to check in on you. What are you doing outside? Who are those boys you're hanging with? I want you to come in, stay in for an hour. Then you can go back out. Come in or go out the house, but don't waste my air conditioning.
Right.
Big Ma set the tone. So not having her, can you imagine subtraction of her from the familial environment and then the professional environment? It gets really bad.
Absolutely.
So women's issues are a premier issue now in the legislature. But in addition to that are issues of grand poverty. more people, more children living in impoverished conditions in the state of Michigan than in any other time in our history. That's a horrible narrative
It's horrible.
for a state that boasts a $49 billion budget. We have the money to remediate any problem we have in this state.
I know.
Any problem.
I know.
Homelessness, illiteracy, mental illness,
The rate of illiteracy it's pitiful.
how we lock people up and what for and for what length of time.
Yeah.
You know, these are all social leaning issues, but I would argue that everybody that I work with, whether they're Jewish or they're Christian or they're Catholic or they're Muslim, these folks all pray out of a book, as I do, that says the same thing about the people who are in the lower rung. They all say, take care of that group at the bottom and everything for you at the top will be good.
Right.
And we don't do it. And so, you know, for a group of people who in the legislature boast all this, you know, being versed on religion and we practice and this, that, and the other, we got a horrible way of demonstrating it through collective policy.
I have 2 questions for you before we call it a day. One is, are you going to see President Obama today?
I am not going to see President Obama today.
Oh, okay. I just was asking because a couple of my former students.
I've
have
seen
been
him on
invited.
a number of occasions when he comes here, but, you know, I'd kind of like the president to come to Detroit.
Yeah.
Come to the center of it all. And I understand, you know, there are politics at play, but some of that has to go away when I get to say that, Mr. President, you're in your second term now. They can't unelect you now. Now you kind of get to live out loud with your politics. Come on to Detroit.
Right.
Because it's still a great place to be, and we need you.
Next thing is the minimum wage.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you're bringing this
Do
up.
you think that the minimum wage, some states are heightening the minimum wage. What do you think about Michigan?
Oh, Mrs. Perryman, you give me hope because the minimum wage, I think, can be one of those single catalysts to bring people out. So many people are living below the poverty threshold. So many people are working their butts off and they can't make the ends meet. They can't pay child care expenses,
Right.
can't get to work dutifully. And there is no mass transit system that really helps them go to where they're trying to go. We're working on it, and we're close to getting a shovel in the ground, but it's not here yet. The minimum wage is getting attention all across the nation. It is banding people, white, black, suburb, urban, is putting them all in the same pot, and we're going to get something on the ballot that I think gives us a chance to raise the minimum
I
wage.
wish it could be on this year's ballot, the same ballot that people have to vote in a fall election.
Oh, I think it will be. I think it will be. My bill,
That might get people out.
it will get people out. We introduced a bill that has become the subject of this minimum wage war that we're waging against corporate interests.
What is it?
Our bill says that in increments of 50 cents, we would go from $7.40 to $10 by 2015. And that's not even indexed to the price of inflation. But then thereafter, we'd like to index it to the cost of living.
What is the deal that people are so against giving people more than $7 an hour?
Well, you should probably do a show on this, but there is a very fine documentary called "The Men Who Built America," and it's set back to it's set in the 1800s to really describe the Vanderbilts, the DuPonts, the Rockefellers, Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, all these folks who sort of snatched industry and did it in a grandiose way. Back in the early 1900s, when J.P. Morgan made $500 million in 1 year, the next nearest American making money made a little under $400 a year. And so these folks had control of our economy, control of our government. J.P. Morgan had an opportunity to see U.S. Steel not deregulated because he was the country's bank, bailed us out 4 times, wrote us a check. And the idea is that these men, these people who ran particular industry, gas and electric, petroleum, trains, you name it, these folks were in position to make large profits against very small profits for citizens. And these people got hurt. They got killed on the job. They made paltry sums. But it was the widened gulf between the haves and the have-nots. And when you hear these people, and that's why history is so important, when you hear these people say, we want our country back. When the Tea Party says, we want our country back, what they're saying is, we want to float right back to the days where there were no union influence, where there was no women really working, when the value of a citizen was never interpreted in their daily work. But we want to make haves and have-nots. We got to be very concerned about classism.
And like caste systems.
That's right.
That's what I see. That's what I see, and that's what I see we got to fight against.
Yeah.
Don't let me get started because
You got to do a show on that. You got to do a show on that.
Always been a rebel. I do have to do a show on that. And what's the name of that?
It's called The Men Who Built America.
The Men Who
and,
Built America.
you know, I don't believe in these guys as having been the best and the brightest, but it's very interesting the story that they tell about how they interacted with early America, early industrialized, pre-industrialized America.
Well, I tell you what, after I review that and everything, down the road, maybe I'll have you come back on and somebody else, and we'll we'll discuss
I'm happy
that
to.
because that's a whole show.
It is. I'm happy to.
It is a whole show. So everybody, I'd like to thank my guest, State Senator Burt Johnson, who's filled us with a lot of information. Let's hope he gets a lot of fight. And the Democratic Party, to me, doesn't have in the state of Michigan has to put up their dukes.
We do. We could use a few more soldiers. We really could.
But if you take the soldiers you have and put up your dukes, then more people come along because leadership. People are looking for heroes.
That's right. They are, and it's easy to be had at this time because all you got to do is stand up and fight for people.
That's it. I believe in it. So thank you, Burt.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I will see you again soon. And everybody will be back in just a moment with Miss Claudette Wellings. Good morning, and good morning once again. And welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show right here on TV 33, WHPR. And I'm wearing red, to talk about heart disease and all of that stuff. But also, a lot of people will be doing red next month. Next week, because next week, Friday, is Valentine's Day. And just to let you know, next week, Valentine's Day, we're going to have some members of Enchantment here, the legendary singing group, and a representative from Porgy and Bess, and that will be in town. So it's going to be great, great, great. I am excited about that show. And I'd like to introduce you to my guest, Miss Claudette Wellings.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, what's the name of your florist?
Lachey Floral and Events.
Where is that?
And we're located at 3031 West Grand Boulevard in the New Center. That's in New Center 1 building, which is across the street from the Fisher Theater.
Across from the Fisher. Can we bring these a little closer? Because these are beautiful. It's nothing like having flowers. Have you ever gotten flowers, ladies and gentlemen? It's just a good surprise. It adds everything to your life. But I want to ask you about yourself first, Claudette. Now, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Detroit. I lived in Los Angeles for about 15 years.
Really?
And then moved back to Detroit.
So you moved back here?
Yes.
Wow, somebody moved back. That's
Right.
good. And what made you decide, well, how long have you been a florist?
You know what, I've been a florist for about 10 years, but I've been in full force for the last 5 years by myself, just working the business, really with a team now too. I do weddings and parties and special events, corporate events, Christmas decorations and things of that nature.
Wow. You must like flowers.
I love it. I love it. It's a joy. Doing flowers is always a joy. It brings happiness. You know, very few times a person is not happy about receiving flowers.
I know. Well, my father was never happy about it. When he was in the hospital, somebody brought him some flowers, and he said, this was years ago, he said, he threw them out, out the door. He said, this is no funeral. You know, he was like that. You're a little cantankerous. Tell us about this beautiful arrangement you have here.
Thank you. You know what, this is a martini glass that I put red and pink roses around it, and then in the middle I'm floating some Gerber daisies along with, which is not in there, but a candle. So just a nice centerpiece for any occasion, be it for home, be it for something at event, but just something pretty and red, but with the candlelight just to give it a nice soft look and a nice, just something pretty with the I'm sorry, with the rhinestones hanging down there.
Rhinestones?
Yes, a little bling to give it a little more.
I think this is just absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you very much.
And it's a great, like you say, centerpiece. Shoot, I wouldn't mind getting this for a gift.
Right, and it could be a wonderful gift.
Hint, hint to somebody out there. What's your phone number?
My phone number is 313-575-6114. Like I said, and we are on Facebook as well, and it's Lachey Floral.
Spell Lachey.
Lachey, capital L-A, and then S-H-E-E, and then it's Floral and Events, the and sign.
Now, you say you do events.
Yes, we do. We do events, and I want to say as far as the corporate events, we orchestrate the event itself. If that's,
that's
what
nice.
what our
That's
client
nice.
would like.
So if your client would like you to come in and they say, well, we're going to have this important meeting. I have some clients I want to impress. I want to, in fact, with it, I want to give them a little breakfast.
Okay, correct.
What would you do?
Well, what I would do is we have also other companies that we work with in vendors with linen and things of that nature,
Yes.
just to bring the level up to a certain standard for our client. So I would do the registration of their guests as well. Take that in as well as set up their room for breakfast and then change it over if they're going to do lunch. We work with some, like Dearborn Inn, we do events there. And so at St. Regis, which is next door to us, we also do events there.
Wow, you all are busy.
Thank you. Yes, we're
Tell
blessed.
me about this beautiful, beautiful arrangement in this vase.
Thank you.
Vase. Is it vase?
Vase. You know what that is? A square vase, clear vase, with is trimmed around the bottom with the rhinestones.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, which gives it that extra little bling, you know what I'm saying, and just kind of brings it up a little bit. And there is some white hydrangeas, and white hydrangeas always are full.
Where did you get these in the winter?
Well, you know what? Here we have in the city of Detroit, there's a couple of local wholesalers that we work with. And then outside of the Detroit area, there's a place called Oswald's in the city of Detroit, and there's Nordley's, which are both wholesalers that we associate with.
Oh, so they get the flowers in?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought somebody was growing them.
No, that would, yes, right.
Yeah, this below
Not
zero
happening. Right.
weather.
Not
so,
happening.
so tell me, where did your ambition to deal with flowers come from?
You know what? Enjoying and liking the life of things, and like enjoying to see pretty. I like pretty, and I like elegant. So just kind of using that and using what God has given me to make it flourish. That's just, it's a love. Once I start playing, it's just one thing leads to another.
Wow. And you started this 10 years ago?
And more, really more. But then
What
I
did
used
you
to
do
play.
prior to that?
You know what? I used to work for an insurance company as a risk manager in California, and then when I moved back here, I worked with insurance company as well, do it with municipalities, handling claims.
Do you
So-
ever miss California weather?
Oh yes, of course. Right about now, yes, I do.
I know.
Yeah, my girlfriend called me the other day, said it was 81, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
try 8 here. Right.
Yeah, I've been out there this time of year, driving with the top down.
Correct.
California dream. Anyway, so did you have a natural gift, or did you take a class that showed you how to?
You know,
decorate?
it was between the two. I'd say part of it is natural, but I've had classes in LA, also here locally, and then some of the people that I've worked with in the city, you know, to try to create more talent. The city of Detroit has some wonderful and very talented florists, designers. We do, and it's just a matter.
I'd like to give a shout out to an old friend of mine. She passed away a few years ago, Pat Terry.
Oh, yes.
And her mother, Mabel Terry. They are late, you know, but they had Terry's Enchanted
Yes.
Gardens. And I think Pat's daughter runs it now. But I just wanted to tell you she make wonderful designs, down to the boutonnieres for
Yes.
my son going to the prom and all of that. Now, do you do things like that?
We do. We
for
do.
the proms and everything?
We do bouquets, of course, for weddings, but we do corsages, things for proms. We work with churches for special events. So we just do a combination of everything. We also do, of course, here is fresh, but we also do silk arrangements as well.
Oh, you do?
Yes, we
You
do those.
What about funerals? Say if I had to call about a funeral, you have timely delivery?
We do. We do anything for funeral casket sprays, standing sprays. We have quite a few plants, different sizes, different price ranges. We work with whatever customer's budget
What do
is.
you suggest a customer? Do they have to come in?
They don't have to come in. With anything, what I ask the person is about, if it's as far as the funeral, just tell me something about that person, because I don't do it just as to what's in the book.
Right.
I need to feel it, and a lot of people are doing cremations now, so they want something that I think they'll be able to take home and enjoy, because it's not going to go to a cemetery. You know what I'm saying? So something that they can be able to reuse, even if they just took it all out and put it in a big vase. They still get a chance to enjoy the flowers. They're just not for that one moment or for that one day, because the memory is so special.
Right.
So-
Memory is special.
Yeah.
And what I like about these, you have a combination of different plants in here, a combination, and that just makes it so great. And I'm so happy that you were able to come out in this cold with this water here in this box and everything. A lot of times, okay, let's talk about Valentine's Day. I was going to talk about a lot of times people, as a teacher,
Okay.
nothing was better than me getting flowers.
Oh, I love it. Right. See, because it brings joy.
It does.
Right.
And they come to the classroom and the students get happy, and flowers add something to a room.
They do. They do. They bring that sense of softness.
It does, a sense of love.
Love, exactly.
And tell me this, if somebody's going to order something for their significant other, and you could order flowers for men also.
Yes. We do flowers that are manly.
Manly
Yes,
flowers.
because most men are like, ah. But with manly flowers, I normally try to use tropicals, because of the simple fact that it's a little bit harder, but still soft. You know, bird of paradise, you can put something with it, ginger, something or pin cushions, which are tropical. They come in orange and reds, but that
It
is
gives it
softer.
a little more of a less feminine flair.
Exactly.
Now, if I'm ordering someone some flowers for Valentine's Day, how many days ahead do you think I should put an order in?
Well, currently, right now, we're doing a discount if you call and order by Monday, which is the 10th, I believe. If you order by Monday, you get a discount, and you get extra with your arrangement. You get balloons or candy.
Oh, that's nice. Give that number again.
313-575-6114.
What are your hours?
The hours are 9 to 5:30.
Wow, that's a nice long day.
It is a nice long day, and on Monday, next Thursday and next Friday, we'll be open from 8 until 7 on Thursday, and on Friday, we'll be open from 8 until the last rose leaves.
Until the last
or
rose
the last
leaves,
chocolate
right?
leaves.
Well,
Yes.
yeah. So people should call in or come in
Or stop by.
Right, the New Center One building, because my friend Ricky Welch has silver
That's
fox
right.
furs in there. So maybe we want to get some flowers and
And
a
a fur.
Maybe the men want to get a fur for themselves and flowers for the lady. No, it should be however you want to do it.
Right.
I'd say shop both places and everything, because flowers live, and you said you
They
like
do.
life.
Yes.
And it's nothing better than life. You know, right now we're losing a lot of people. I know I lost someone very close to me, and you
Yes.
have lost someone very close to your family and stuff. And, you know, just seeing these here just brighten up so much.
Yes, it does. It gives us, that's why I love what I do, because it's about life. You know what I'm saying? And we have to enjoy it as much as we can, because We don't know when it will be.
You never
Never know.
know. You know,
Right.
it's in God's hands.
Yes.
It's in God's hands. And what about roses? A dozen roses. A lot of people, they want roses, but they say, I'm not even going to ask about roses because roses are so expensive.
Right, roses has gone up a little bit. Well, of course, in pricing this week. So a dozen roses, $60 in a vase, which is nice because with me though,
Do you
get
get
the
a
chocolate.
discount with 2 dozen?
You do that. You do, and you get chocolate, and you get like I said, balloon or teddy bear.
Oh, this
whatever
is
your
with
choice.
that dozen roses?
Yeah.
A
Yes.
balloon, chocolate, and
If you
teddy
do,
bear?
well, you don't get you get the chocolate or the teddy bear.
Oh.
You get the balloon, or chocolate or teddy bear, but that's if you call on the 10th. Call by Monday.
Called by Monday.
Yes, and then after that, we still have some other discounts. If you get a half a dozen, we have roses in all colors. It's going to be the red, the yellow, pink, white, and then we'll have tulips and all kind of different types of flowers. You don't always have to do the roses. You need to just do what feels good. And the single rose means a lot as well.
A single rose is
Is
beautiful,
priceless.
beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
My children never get me flowers.
Okay,
It's
we'll have
just-
to fix that.
Well,
They do
You
different.
know, they give me Amazon gift cards, but I mean, it would be nice to have a flower. I guess they just don't think of it. My son doesn't think of it.
But they give you everything else.
Yeah.
Right, that's
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah. But I spoiled them, and
They spoil you.
well, not enough. No, I'm kidding.
I know
I'm
you
kidding,
are.
everybody.
I know.
I'm kidding, everybody. I love my children. They've been very,
Priceless.
very priceless, right? Now and stuff like this. I love this vase. Do you have this vase at the shop?
I do. I have it in different sizes. That one there is a 7 by 7, and then I have the bigger ones and the smaller
They're all
ones,
square.
round and square, and then I have some tall round ones.
That's what I was going to ask
Yes.
you, if you had any tall ones with the
Yes.
rhinestones around them.
I do.
This is just fabulous.
Thank you very much.
Let me kind of turn it around so that my audience can see. Oh,
Yes.
the roses are so nice. Why are roses expensive?
You know what? The way they grow, and because of the value of them themselves, what they speak. Roses and orchids are normally what's kind of priceless. Price.
Now, I know you mentioned orchids and everything. I started thinking about Easter. I started thinking about Mother's Day.
Correct.
And everything. Do a lot of people give flowers for Mother's Day?
They do. I would say Valentine's Day and Mother's Day are the biggest days for flowers because everyone has a mother or a grandmother or someone, a woman in their life that they want to show love to.
Those Hallmark holidays.
Yes,
I wish
it
my
is.
name was Miss Hallmark. I tell you.
That makes two of us.
TV
Yes.
33 would be around the world. Not only courtesy of the World Wide Web, but courtesy of, this would be our national network, I tell you.
Yes.
But people kind of go for it. And then flowers, sometimes people, it's the last minute thing.
Yes.
Do you find people come in with last minute?
Yes, which is the ones that are, they come in saying, I just need you to hook me up. I can't go home without something. So you just have to give them, and at that point, it just makes it special. Those are the ones, too, that have a tendency to come back and say, it was perfect, it was the right color, she loved it. A week later, it's still living.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That's
because
what
you
you
use
like.
good product.
Yes, and that's because I have to. Because if I don't, one, it doesn't speak for my business, for my company. We have to make sure that people will get repeated customers. And for someone to say, you're my florist, that means a lot to me.
Wow. Well, you're my florist.
Why,
You
thank
are my florist because I believe in supporting people in the community, and you are in the community.
Thank you.
And you're right down on off Second,
Yes.
Second and the Boulevard, right in the new Center One building. It's is it the kiosk back
Yes,
there?
it's the area
Right in the
main
lobby.
floor. Right.
Right on the main floor, right in the lobby. Do you
Yes.
think you're going to stay in Detroit?
Oh, well, no question. Yes, I'm going to expand in Detroit.
Are you?
Yeah, God has great things planned. Yes,
Oh, I'm excited.
I am too.
You
I
have
am
to
too.
keep me informed about this.
I will.
That
Yeah.
is so very,
Yeah.
very important.
Detroit is a good place.
Do you have children?
I have two daughters. One has a love for this. The other one, she's in between. But the one that is 19, she's going to school right now for I can't put. Anyway, she's in school, but she does have a love for this. She's a designer as well. She's my right hand, and then I have a couple of other people that are my right hand, and then I have another daughter that attends UOD Mercy. So I have two
I have
daughters.
a daughter that goes to UOD
Mhm.
Mercy.
Yeah, and it's a good thing.
It's a good thing, because we have to keep our young people busy.
Yes.
Really have to. And this is a trade. This is really a trade, and we appreciate you being an entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Because it's stepping out on faith. Faith in yourself
Yes.
first. And
First.
faith in God.
Yes.
I mean, to do that.
I'm always grateful because in the city of Detroit and to be able to sell flowers and at this time and I've been there in New Center for 3 years. That's a blessing to be able to still be maintaining.
Wow.
That is truly by faith. And even though people say things about the city, people support. New Center is good to me.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. I love
Yes.
that building.
I do too.
And everybody, I'd like to thank Claudette Wellings and LaShee Flores,
Floral and events.
Floral and Events. Give that phone number one more time.
313-575-6114. And everyone have a great Valentine's Day and hope to see you.
And hope to see her. And remember, she has discounts until Monday. You could always send me flowers here next Friday morning at TV 33 WHPR, Comcast 20 in Detroit, 160 Victor. Maybe I'm looking for a Valentine. I don't know. But anyway, join me again at 1 o'clock today for Table Talk with Brenda Perryman. And we have the men today, and we have some topics for you. So I will see you at 1. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.